Here's everything you need to know about the Wendigo. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Pumpkin Patch. I'm the Beastly Pumpkin, and today's video will be another entry in our series, the Cryptid Archives. This episode will be on the legendary cryptid, the Wendigo. Starting off with its appearance. The Wendigo is described as a tall, skinny creature while having the head of a deer skull or a cow skull. Along with deer antlers, half of its body is exposed with bone, while the other half being rotting flesh and matted fur. Its tall, skinny body is said to be half animal, half man, while having long, slender fingers that are as sharp as knives at the tips. It's also said to have backwards knees, like a dog, and deer-like hooves at its feet. The height ranges from 6 feet tall, all the way up to 9 feet. All eyewitness accounts of these creatures say that it stalks people low to the ground, and on all fours, but when closing in on its prey, it can walk on 2 legs and peer around the corners of trees. Witnesses say in every encounter they can see the creature's rib cage with flesh falling off of its bones. They describe matted fur on its back running down its spine. Some accounts even claim that the creature has a tail that drags close to the ground, decaying just like the rest of its body. A creature with this kind of description would truly be a terrifying encounter if found. Which brings us on to our next point: the lore and the history. The legend of the Wendigo has been around for hundreds of years. Earliest accounts of this creature come from the native tribes, all the way from Nova Scotia, across to the east coast of Canada, and all throughout the USA. Almost all early tribes based in heavily wooded areas and forests have stories of this creature. The Wendigo is depicted as a malevolent spirit or creature with evil intent. It's said the Wendigo is a cannibalistic creature that feasts off of humans that wander too deep into the woods. The stories describe it as having an insatiable hunger and greed. Over the years, there have been hundreds of stories and encounters with this creature, stretching all the way across the country of Canada and the USA, from anywhere there's a deep wooded area. Eyewitness encounters tell of truly terrifying stories of this creature and the lengths that the Wendigo will go to lure you deeper into the forest. Many stories tell about a certain ability that the Wendigo has. They say the Wendigo is able to mimic voices of dead relatives, and voices only the victim would recognize. They say they could hear the voices of dead relatives calling them from the woods, telling them to come closer and closer into the shadows. There are also plenty of stories of people listening to these voices and never returning. People claim they have come across this monster, and they say they are lucky to be alive. But what all these stories have in common is the fact that they all have the same description of the creature. They get a glimpse of a tall, decaying, deer-like man, and say that you should never go deeper into the woods, especially if you hear voices. And finally, our last point: the science. There is a lot of science behind the Wendigo. One of the most famous is a syndrome that has been based off of this monster. There is a disorder called Wendigo psychosis. This disorder can happen to anyone, and this is how it happens. In a survival situation where humans become trapped, there's a chance they may develop Wendigo psychosis. They develop this condition when trapped and out of food. Once someone runs out of food, if they are in a group of people, they begin to get an overwhelming feeling and an urge to eat other members of the group. If left untreated, they have an unbearable urge and want to eat another human being, ultimately becoming a cannibal, just like the Wendigo. There are stories of this happening to people, and there are times when the people who get trapped in these situations develop this before being rescued. Unfortunately, after being rescued and returning to civilization, these victims still have the urge to eat other human beings. In some cases, these people end up becoming murderers because of the urge to taste someone's flesh. This is not the only disorder based off of the Wendigo, alongside its countless stories from history, but it begs the question, could a creature like this actually exist? As of today, there has been nothing brought forward, such as bodies or bones. The most we have is stories of missing people, eyewitness accounts, and the legends from the old tribes. Whether or not the Wendigo roams the forests of the world is up for speculation. And whether or not this creature is out there, that's for you to decide. I hope you learned something about this legendary cryptid, the Wendigo. And thank you all for watching.